The war had lasted 300 years. 7 different alien species fought each other across thousands of star systems. Planets burned. Billions died. Nobody remembered why it started anymore. They only knew how to keep fighting. Then one day, the fighting stopped. Not because anyone won. Everyone was just too tired to continue. The leaders of all 7 species agreed to meet at a neutral space station to talk about peace. They called it the First Galactic Summit. The Galactic Council also sent invitations to newer species that had not been part of the war. One of those invitations went to a small blue planet called Earth. Park read the invitation 3 times. She was 52 years old with gray hair and kind eyes. She had spent her whole life as a diplomat, talking to difficult people and finding solutions to impossible problems. But this was different. This was not Earth politics. This was the entire galaxy. She accepted the invitation. The journey to the neutral station took 2 weeks. Park brought only 3 people with her. Was her senior advisor, a calm man in his 40s who rarely spoke but always listened. Sara was her junior advisor, a young woman who had a gift for reading people and situations. And Minyu was her security officer, a quiet man in a simple black suit who looked like he worked at a bank. When their small ship arrived at the station, Park looked out the window and felt her heart sink. They had brought 3 massive warships. Each one was bigger than anything Earth had ever built. They floated around the station like hungry sharks waiting for food. They had brought 200 soldiers. They stood in perfect lines on the docking platform, their 4 arms holding weapons that glowed with deadly energy. They were famous for being the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy. Their bodies were built for killing. Even though a peaceful species known for their wisdom had brought defensive shields. Glowing barriers surrounded their delegates, protecting them from any attack. Earth sent 4 people with no weapons and no shields. The other delegates stared as Park walked onto the station. She wore a simple blue dress, and Sora walked behind her in dark suits. Minyu followed at the back, his hands in his pockets, looking bored. High Commander of the approached them first. He was tall, almost 3 meters, with scales that shimmered like metal. His eyes were yellow and cold. He had killed more enemies than he could count, and he wore his scars with pride. He looked down at the 4 humans and laughed. "This is the delegation from Earth," he asked. His voice was deep and mocking. "4 soft creatures with no protection. Are you trying to insult this summit?" Park smiled politely. "High Commander, it is an honor to meet you. I am Ambassador Park. These are my colleagues." Ignored her introduction. "Where is your military escort? Where are your ships, your soldiers?" "We did not bring any," Park said simply. The other delegates nearby stopped their conversations to listen. A general named pushed through the crowd, his 4 arms crossed over his massive chest. "No military. Are humans stupid or suicidal?" Park kept smiling. "Neither, I hope. We simply find that soldiers make peace talks rather tense. We are here to listen and learn, perhaps to help if we can." Laughed a harsh sound like breaking glass. "Help? What can 4 weak creatures help with? You cannot even protect yourselves." Behind Park, Minyu yawned quietly. Nobody noticed. The delegate approached next. Her name was Elder, and she floated instead of walking. Her body was made of soft light and her voice sounded like music. "Ambassador Park, please forgive the others. They do not understand gentle ways. But I must ask, are you not afraid? This station is filled with warriors who have killed millions. Any one of them could harm you." Park turned to face Elder. "Elder, I appreciate your concern. Yes, I am aware of the danger, but fear is not useful here. I came to talk about peace. If I brought weapons and soldiers, what message would that send? That I expect violence, that I am ready for war?" She shook her head slowly. "No, I want the galaxy to see that humans come in peace, truly in peace." Elder studied her for a long moment. "You are either very wise or very foolish, Ambassador. I cannot decide which." Perhaps both, Park admitted. Time will tell. The summit officially began the next morning. All the delegates gathered in a great hall at the center of the station. The room was huge, designed to hold hundreds of beings of different sizes. They took up one side with their massive bodies. They stood in military formation on another side. They floated near the ceiling, their light casting soft shadows on everyone below. And in one small corner, the four humans sat at a simple table. High Commander opened the summit with a speech about strength and honor. General followed with demands for territory. Other delegates argued about old wounds and older grudges. Voices grew loud. Hands reached for weapons. The peace summit was already falling apart. Park watched everything quietly. She took notes. She whispered with Ansara. She waited. Because Park understood something the others did not. Peace was not made by showing strength. Peace was made by showing something much harder. Patience. And humans were very, very good at being patient. 3 days passed. The peace summit was going badly. Every morning, the delegates gathered in the great hall. Every morning, they shouted at each other. They accused thee of war crimes. They accused thee of stealing planets. Smaller species complained that nobody listened to them. They tried to calm everyone down, but nobody wanted to be calm. Park sat in her corner and watched. She spoke only when asked direct questions. She never raised her voice. She never made demands. The other delegates mostly ignored her. The humans are useless, General said to his soldiers one night. They sit there like frightened children. They have nothing to offer. High Commander agreed. A waste of an invitation. They will go home and tell their little planet that the galaxy is too big for them. But Park was not wasting time. She was learning. She watched how each species moved. She listened to what they said and what they did not say. She noticed the small things that others missed. She noticed that the assassin was getting closer to the delegate each day. On the morning of the third day, the assassin made his move. It happened fast. The great hall was full of arguing delegates. Elder was floating near the center trying to speak about peace. The assassin pushed through the crowd, a blade hidden in his lower left hand. Nobody saw him. Nobody except Minyu. The assassin raised his blade. Elder turned, her light flickering with surprise. She had no time to run, no time to scream. Then Minyu moved. Later, when the security footage was studied, experts could not understand what they saw. Minyu had been standing 15 meters away behind Park's table. In less than 2 seconds, he crossed that distance. He did not run. Running was too slow. He simply moved like a shadow jumping from one place to another. His hand caught the assassin's wrist. There was a sharp crack as the bone broke. The blade fell. Before the assassin could react, Minyu twisted his body and broke 2 more of his arms. They screamed. Minyu swept his legs and slammed him to the ground, pinning him with one knee. The whole thing took less than 3 seconds. The great hall went completely silent. Every eye turned to the small human kneeling on top of the massive warrior. Minyu looked bored, like he had just swatted a fly. He stood up slowly. He straightened his suit jacket, fixing a button that had come loose. Then he walked back to his position behind Park and stood there like nothing had happened. Park cleared her throat. "Apologies for the disruption," she said calmly. "The assassin should be taken to your security forces. Shall we continue the summit?" Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. High Commander stared at Minyu. They had the best eyes in the galaxy. They could see things that moved faster than light, but had not seen Minyu move. One moment the human was by the table. The next moment he was on top of the assassin. There was nothing in between. General looked at his soldiers. They were proud of their speed. They trained from birth to be the fastest warriors in the galaxy. Their assassin was one of their best, and a human had caught him like he was moving through mud. The soldiers took their assassin away. The summit continued, but nobody was really paying attention anymore. They were all thinking about what they had just seen. That night, found alone in the food hall, the human advisor was eating something called rice and reading a small tablet. Sat down across from him, his massive body making the chair creak. "I need to ask you something," said. Looked up, "Of course, High Commander." "Your security officer, Minu, what is he?" Took another bite of his rice. "What do you mean?" "I mean what I saw today. No creature in the galaxy moves that fast. Is he some kind of special soldier, a super warrior, a machine?" Laughed softly. "Minu, no, he is just our security officer. He protects the ambassador." "Just your security officer?" Leaned forward. "A normal human." "Well," said, thinking about it, "I suppose he is a bit below average, actually. He failed the Special Forces entrance exam twice. That is why he works in diplomatic security instead of the military." Felt cold. The feeling surprised him. He had fought in 100 battles. He had faced death more times than he could count. He was not afraid of anything. But right now, looking at this calm human eating rice, he felt something very close to fear. "Below average," he repeated. "Yes," smiled. "Minu is good at his job, but he is nothing special by our standards. He would tell you the same thing." Did not sleep that night. He lay in his quarters and stared at the ceiling. He kept thinking about what had said. If Minu was below average, what did an above-average human look like? And why did Earth really never send their military to peace summits? For the first time in his long life, High Commander was afraid of the answer. After the assassination attempt, everything changed. The delegates stopped ignoring the humans. Now they watched them constantly. At first they watched Minu. Every time he moved, eyes followed him. When he walked down a corridor, soldiers stepped aside. When he entered a room, conversation stopped. The man who looked like a bored accountant had become the most feared person on the station. But then the delegates started noticing the other humans too. It started with Lee Sara. She was the youngest member of the human delegation, only 28 years old. She had a soft voice and a gentle smile. She looked like she would break if you pushed her too hard. On the fourth day, Sara was walking through a storage area looking for a stylus she had dropped. 3 soldiers were struggling with a heavy cargo crate. The crate was made of solid metal and weighed as much as a small vehicle. The soldiers grunted and pushed, but the crate barely moved. Sora walked past them, then she stopped. Her stylus was under the crate. "Excuse me," she said politely, "may I?" Before the soldiers could answer, Sora bent down and lifted the edge of the crate with one hand. She picked up her stylus with the other hand. Then she set the crate back down gently. "Thank you," she said and walked away. The 3 soldiers looked at each other. They had been struggling together to move that crate. This small human female had lifted it like it was made of paper. The story spread quickly. Soon everyone was talking about it. Then came. The station had a recreation area where soldiers could exercise and spar. On the 5th day, some warriors were practicing their combat skills. They moved like lightning, their 4 arms striking faster than most eyes could follow. They were proud of their abilities. Walked in to watch. He stood quietly at the edge of the training area, his hands behind his back. One of them noticed him. "Human, do you want to try?" It was meant as a joke. They expected the human to refuse, instead smiled. "Why not?" he said. "I could use some exercise." 3 warriors stepped forward. They were young and eager to show off. They thought they would teach this human a lesson. The match lasted 30 seconds. Moved through them like water flowing around rocks. He did not fight hard. He did not use his full strength. He just played with them, dodging their attacks, tapping them gently when he could have broken bones. He was smiling the entire time. When it was over, the 3 were on the ground, confused and ashamed. Helped them up politely. "Good practice," he said. "You are very fast, keep training." He walked out of the recreation area whistling a tune. Behind him, 50 soldiers stood in shocked silence. But the most impressive moment came on the 6th day. A small accident caused a hull breach in one of the corridors. Air started rushing out into space. Emergency doors tried to close, but they jammed. Anyone caught in that corridor would die in minutes. Ambassador Park was in that corridor. So were 5 delegates, including 2 children. They panicked. They could not survive in vacuum. They screamed and ran toward the jammed doors, but the doors would not open. The air was getting thinner. They had maybe 2 minutes before they suffocated. Park did not panic. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs completely. Then she started walking toward the. "Follow me," she said calmly. "There is another exit this way." She led them through the corridor. The air grew thinner. They started to fall, their bodies weakening. Park picked up the 2 children and carried them. She helped the adults walk. She kept moving step by step through the dying corridor. It took almost 4 minutes to reach the emergency airlock. 4 minutes without breathing. 4 minutes in near vacuum. When the airlock finally opened, Park set down the children and took a breath. "Is everyone all right?" she asked. They stared at her. Any other species would have died. Most would have lost consciousness after 1 minute. But this human woman had walked through vacuum for 4 minutes like she was taking a morning stroll. By the evening of the 6th day, the entire station was talking about the humans. Stories spread from soldier to soldier, from diplomat to diplomat. Each story was more unbelievable than the last. Finally, the diplomat called coordinator requested a private meeting with Ambassador Park. Was not a warrior. She was a politician, old and wise. She had survived 300 years of war not through strength but through cleverness. She knew how to read people. She knew how to find the truth. She sat across from Park in a small meeting room. The 2 women looked at each other for a long moment. "Ambassador Park," said slowly, "I need to ask you something. My species, though, we pride ourselves on being strong. They pride themselves on being fast. They pride themselves on being wise. But your people, you are strong and fast, and apparently you do not need to breathe." Park waited. "What are humans?" asked. "What are you really?" Park was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "We are human," she said simply. "Nothing more." "That is not an answer." "It is the only answer I have." Park leaned forward. "Coordinator, my planet is not a gentle place. Our gravity is heavy. Our predators were many. We evolved to survive in a world that wanted to kill us. We are not the strongest species on Earth. We are not the fastest, but we are the most stubborn." She smiled softly. "We are pursuit predators. We do not stop. We do not tire. And we learned long ago that the greatest danger to us was never the animals or the weather or the planet. It was always ourselves." "Felt cold? What do you mean?" "I mean that humans have fought more wars than your species has existed. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have soldiers who train from childhood to become living weapons." Park glanced toward the door, where Minu was waiting outside. "That man, Minu, is considered below average by our military standards." The room was very quiet. "We do not send our military to peace summits," Park said, "because we want peace. We genuinely, desperately want peace. And we have learned that weapons make peace very, very difficult." Stared at her. For the first time in 300 years, she did not know what to say. On the 7th day, everything fell apart. It started with an accusation. They claimed they found weapons hidden in a cargo bay. They said the weapons were planted. Both sides called each other liars. The shouting started. Then the pushing. Then the first shot was fired. Within an hour, the station became a. Soldiers poured into the corridors, their weapons blazing. Warriors met them with blades and fury. The smaller species ran for safety. They tried to escape but found themselves trapped between 2 armies. Park heard the gunfire from her quarters. She went to the window and looked out. Smoke was rising from multiple sections of the station. Bodies lay in the corridors. 300 years of war had followed them to this place of peace. "Ambassador," Minyu said quietly, "we should evacuate to our ship." Park did not move. She was thinking about the children she had saved yesterday. She was thinking about Elder and her dream of peace. She was thinking about all the people on this station who were going to die because old men could not stop fighting old wars. "No," she said. "Ambassador." "I said no." Park turned to face her team, and Sora were already standing, waiting for orders. Minyu watched her with careful eyes. "The delegates are trapped in the eastern wing," Park said. "There are children with them. The fighting is spreading that way." "The station security should handle it," Minyu said. "Station security is dead or fighting. Nobody is going to save those people except us." Minyu was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "Are you authorizing Protocol 7? And Sora both looked up sharply. Protocol 7 was not supposed to exist. It was not written in any official document. It was a whispered secret among Earth's diplomatic corps, a last resort that had only been used 3 times in human history. Park met Minyu's eyes. "Yes, I am authorizing Protocol 7. Do what you need to do. Save those people. Try not to kill anyone if you can avoid it." Minyu nodded slowly. He took off his suit jacket and set it on a chair. Underneath, his body was covered in scars, old wounds from old battles. He rolled his shoulders and something changed in his eyes. The bored accountant disappeared. Something else took his place. "Sora with me." The 3 of them moved to the door. Before they left, Minyu looked back at the ambassador. "Stay here," he said. "Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone except us." Then they were gone. The station had become hell. Smoke filled the corridors. Emergency lights flashed red. Bodies lay everywhere and mixed together in death. The sound of gunfire echoed from all directions. Minyu walked straight into it. He did not run. He did not hide. He just walked, calm and steady, like a man taking an evening stroll. When a soldier raised a weapon at him, Minyu caught his arm and broke it in 3 places. When 2 warriors charged him with blades, Minyu stepped between them and sent them both to the ground in less than a second. He did not kill. That was important. Even when soldiers shot at him, even when blades cut his skin, he did not kill. He broke weapons. He broke bones when he had to. He disabled and disarmed and moved on. Behind him and Sora followed. They were not as fast as Minyu, but they were fast enough. Reached the corridor leading to the eastern wing and found it blocked by 20 soldiers. They were supposed to be guarding against attack, but they saw the human as an enemy. "Stop," the commander shouted. "Identify yourself." Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. "I am going through this corridor. You can let me pass or you can try to stop me. I suggest letting me pass." The commander laughed. "1 human against 20, you are insane." "Probably," agreed. "But I am also in a hurry. There are children in danger, so please make your choice quickly." They charged. 20 warriors, 4 arms each, all trained from birth to kill. They were the most feared soldiers in the galaxy. Held that corridor alone for 20 minutes. When the last fell was still standing. He was bleeding from a dozen cuts. His suit was ruined, but he was smiling, the same gentle smile he always wore. "That was fun," he said to nobody in particular. "We should do this again sometime." Meanwhile, Sora reached the eastern wing. They were hiding in a small room, 6 adults and 4 children. Elder was with them, her light flickering weakly. "Human," whispered, "you came." "The ambassador sent me," Sora said. "We need to go now." "The children cannot move fast enough. The fighting is all around us." Sora looked at the 4 children. They were small, barely bigger than human bobbies. Their lights were dim with fear. "I will carry them," Sora said. "Stay close to me. Do not stop moving." She picked up 2 children in each arm, holding all 4 against her chest. Then she started walking. The route back was longer than expected. Fighting had spread to new corridors. 3 times soldiers tried to stop them. 3 times Sora walked through them, shielding the children with her own body. Bullets hit her. Blades cut her. She did not stop. When they finally reached the safe zone, Sora set down the children gently. Her clothes were soaked with blood, but she was still standing. "Are you injured?" Elder asked, horrified by the blood. Sora looked down at herself. "Yes, but I will recover. Humans are good at recovering." By the time the fighting ended, something had changed on the station. It was not that one side had won. Neither side had won. The fighting had simply stopped because both sides had seen something that scared them more than each other. They had seen 3 humans, unarmed, walk through like it was nothing. They had seen what a below-average human could do when the chains came off. They had watched the security footage, studied it frame by frame, and they still could not believe what they saw. The general who had mocked the humans on the first day was now lying in a medical bay with 6 broken bones. He had tried to stop Minyu. It had not gone well. The High Commander was sitting in his quarters, staring at a wall. He had seen fight. He had seen a single human defeat 20 warriors with his bare hands, and the human had been smiling the entire time. Both armies retreated to their ships. Nobody wanted to fight anymore, not because they wanted peace, but because they had finally understood something important. The humans had been holding back. And if this was what they did when they were holding back, what would happen if they stopped? Nobody wanted to find out. The ceasefire came quickly after the violence. Both armies pulled back. The wounded were collected. The dead were counted. For the first time in 300 years, and were not fighting. They were too busy thinking about what they had seen. High Commander requested a private meeting with Ambassador Park. His pride was gone. His confidence was broken. He was old and tired, and for the first time in his life, he truly wanted to understand something. They met in a small room overlooking the stars. The station was quiet now. The fires had been put out. The blood had been cleaned, but the memory of what happened would never fade. Sat across from Park. She looked the same as always, calm and kind, like a grandmother offering tea to a visitor. It was hard to believe this woman had ordered 3 humans to walk through and stop an army. Ambassador said slowly, "I need to understand." "I will try to help you understand," Park replied. "Your species could conquer the galaxy," spread his hands wide. "I have fought wars my whole life. I have seen the strongest warriors in the universe, but I have never seen anything like your people. You are stronger than us, faster than us. You can survive things that would kill any other species. Why do you not use this power?" Park was quiet for a long time. She looked out at the stars, her eyes distant, seeing something that could not see. 200 years ago, she said finally, my people almost destroyed themselves. Leaned forward. We built weapons that could end all life on our planet, not just kill people, end everything, plants, animals, water, air. We could turn our beautiful blue world into a dead rock floating in space. She paused. And we came within minutes of using those weapons, not once, many times, different countries, different leaders, different reasons, but always the same ending almost happened. What stopped you? Choice? Park turned to look at. We chose to stop. It was the hardest thing we ever did. Because you see, Commander, humans are not peaceful by nature. We are violent. We are angry. We have spent most of our history killing each other for land, for food, for ideas, for nothing at all. We are very, very good at destruction. She stood and walked to the window. But we looked into the darkness that day. We saw what we could become. We saw the end of everything. And we decided, all of us together, that we did not want to be monsters. We wanted to be something better. And so you stopped fighting. Park laughed softly. No, we never stopped fighting. Humans still fight wars. We still argue and hate and hurt each other. But we built rules. We built limits. We taught our children that strength without control is just destruction. We learned that the measure of power is not what you can destroy, but what you choose not to destroy. She turned back to, "That is why we do not send our military to peace summits, Commander. Not because we are weak, but because we are terrified. Not of you, of ourselves. Every human carries inside them the ability to create beautiful things and terrible things. Our entire civilization is built on the daily choice to create instead of destroy." Was silent. He thought about his own people, that were proud of their strength. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had killed millions of enemies. And what did they have to show for it? 300 years of war and nothing else. "We came to this summit with 4 people," Park continued, "because we wanted you to see us as we wish to be, peaceful, reasonable, open to friendship. We did not want you to see what we can be when we stop holding back." She smiled sadly. "But now you have seen it. Mean you, Sora, they are good people, kind people. They did not want to hurt anyone. But when innocent children were in danger, they did what humans do. They stopped being gentle and started being effective." "Effective," repeated. The word felt small for what he had witnessed. "I hope this knowledge brings understanding, not fear," Park said. "We are not your enemies, Commander. We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to rule over other species. We simply want peace, real peace, the kind where children grow up without knowing war." She sat back down across from. Her eyes were kind but serious. "They are fierce, they are proud, they are wise, but humans are tired. We are so very tired of fighting. We fought ourselves for thousands of years. We nearly ended our own existence. We have seen the worst that violence can bring, and we do not want that for the galaxy." She extended her hand toward him, looked at it confused. "This is a human gesture," Park explained. "We call it a handshake. It started long ago as a way to show you were not holding a weapon. It means we meet as equals with open hands and peaceful intentions." Looked at her hand, then he looked at her face. He thought about everything he had seen, everything he had learned, everything he had feared. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and took her hand. "What do you want from this summit?" he asked. "I want the war to end. I want your people and to find a way to live together. I want the children of this generation to grow old in peace." She squeezed his hand gently. "I want what we have always wanted, Commander, a better tomorrow." 6 months later, the Galactic Council announced that the 300-year war was officially over. The peace treaty was signed by all 7 species. Old hatreds were set aside. New rules were made. For the first time in centuries, children were born who would never know the sound of war. Earth was offered a permanent seat on the Galactic Council. Ambassador Park accepted, with one condition: all future summits would be held without military presence. The motion passed without a single vote against it. And somewhere in the archives of a dozen alien worlds, the security footage from that day remained. It showed 3 humans walking through fire and death, not to conquer, not to destroy, but to save children they had never met. It was a reminder to the galaxy, a warning, a promise. Humanity came in peace. They came with open hands and gentle words. They came hopping to find friends among the stars. And the galaxy learned to pray that they never gave humans a reason to come any other way.